South Africans are not always that amazing at acknowledging the truth, even when it is giving them a hot slap on the face. It is now time to acknowledge the truth. So here goes. I'll do it. The ANC, the party of Nelson Mandela and Oliver Tambo and Walter Sisulu, must split. The ANC, which fought for and achieved our freedom, must split. There, I said it. The ANC must split. It must split deeply, it must split meaningfully, and it must split properly. Our country is suffering because of the ANC and its divisions. We are on the verge of falling into junk status, according to two major ratings agencies. Last week, the rand took a beating, weakening sharply against the major currencies after Moody's Investor Service said government's decision to give Eskom another large bailout was negative. Fitch Ratings took South Africa's debt down from stable to negative. We are once again on the verge of falling into junk status. As if that's not enough, South Africa's unemployment rate jumped to an 11-year high of 29% in the second quarter of the year. That's 29%. Investment banker David Shapiro put it in perspective when he said, there are 6.7 million people without jobs in South Africa. At the end of June, the number of people without jobs in the United States was 6 million. The US has a population of 326 million. South Africa has a population of only 58 million. Yet we have the same number of unemployed people. It's a disaster. The 6.7 million unemployed people are those who are still looking for a job. There are currently 3.5 million people who have stopped looking for jobs in South Africa. That means that the real number of unemployed is 10.2 million people. Why are things so bad? It is because the ANC is unable to give domestic and foreign investors, the people who put money into our country and create jobs, certainty about where we are going. The ANC is a hot mess of division, infighting, backstabbing and plots to topple each other. The ANC agrees on nothing. One leader says one thing and the other comes up with a different policy the next day. It is beyond a joke. What is the ANC view, for example, on expropriation of land without compensation? It depends on whether you're listening to its former leader, Jacob Zuma, its chief executive, Ace Magashile, or its current leader, Cyril Ramaphosa. What's the ANC stance on corruption? It depends on who you are listening to on that day. What is the ANC position on state capture? Again, ask Magashile or Ramaphosa and you'll get two different answers. Does the ANC want to nationalize the South African Reserve Bank? Again, a different answer depending on who you're talking to. That's because there are two ANCs here. The first ANC stands for the future. It stands for evidence-based policy making and clean governance and serving the people. The second ANC stands for looting, for state capture, for corruption, and a distorted African nationalism that says you can steal from the poor as much as you like, so long as you're black or pretend to be speaking for black people. The first ANC is represented by Cyril Ramaphosa and others, while the second one belongs to Ace Magashile and his cronies. These two ANC cannot coexist. They cannot work together. The lack of forward movement, the failure of state and other institutions that we are seeing today in South Africa is because these two ANCs are pulling against each other. What we are seeing in South Africa today, the poverty, the unemployment, the decline, is because these two factions are pulling in two different directions. The country is in limbo. No policy is implemented as they try to compete with each other and fail. South Africa must stop being a victim of this sorry lot. If Ramaphosa wants us to believe that he is in power, then he must tell those who oppose him in the ANC to pack up and go. If Magashile and his cronies believe Ramaphosa is not their leader and cannot deliver, then he must pack up and leave. The situation as it stands now cannot continue. The ANC must split immediately and both factions must tell South Africa what they stand for. The people will choose. Enough with this indecision and these divisions. The people who are hurt, the people whose lives are getting worse, are the poorest of the poor. The ANC must split. There, I said it.